Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, JNIM insurgents claim responsibility for a dawn raid in Bamako that targets a military training school and airport. It's still unclear if there were any casualties. Also, the Democratic Republic of Congo inaugurates its first ever data center in a bid for data sovereignty. The banks of the servers will store government and commercial information. And I hear from the founder of the Decolonizing Beauty campaign, challenging narrow perceptions about what makes someone or something attractive and pushing to showcase the multifaceted and diverse beauty traditions from across Africa. But first, gunshots rung out across Bamako on Tuesday morning as insurgents targeted strategic military sites in the Malian capital in a dawn raid. Soldiers reportedly did manage to push back the attackers who struck as the city was full of worshippers for the Muslim holiday of Eid Milad. Clarice Fortuné tells us more.
The first gunshots were heard in the early hours of the morning. A simultaneous attack in two places, the gendarmerie school in the Falade district and a military zone near Bamako airport. A group affiliated to Al-Qaeda claimed responsibility for the attack, asserting to have caused enormous losses of life and property. The Malian army did not give details of any casualties, but tried to reassure the population. State television broadcast images of the alleged assailants.
I really wanted to reassure the Malian people that they can go about their business freely. The situation has been taken under control by the Malian armed forces. The terrorists who were infiltrated have been neutralized.
But a sense of chaos seems to have sweeping through the capital. Videos circulating on social networks showed a charred body of a man. He was allegedly lynched by the crowd, who accused him of being a terrorist.
Since 6 a.m. people have been mobilized. People are anxious. I came here at 9 a.m. and found many people, and the population has been very supportive of the police. They were even the ones who apprehended many of the attackers.
The army is calling on the population to avoid confusion in order to prevent reprisals against certain communities. At a time when certain regions of Mali are still the scene of almost daily attacks, the capital had been spared until now, since an attack on a hotel in 2016.
Now, nationwide protests were held in Ghana on Tuesday as the main opposition party, the NDC, ramped up calls for an audit of the voter registry 3 months before the presidential elections. Now, it's accused the Electoral Commission of tampering with records to try and tip the scales in favour of the ruling NPP's candidate, current Vice President Mahamadou Bawumia. Now, he faces stiff competition from the NDC's flag bearer, former President John Mahama. The Electoral Commission's rejected the accusations, but thousands of people took to the streets for a movement dubbed the Enough is Enough movement, saying that transparency now is key to the future success of the polls.
What we are doing is to prevent war in this country. If you want to prevent war, you fight to remove everything that has the tendency to generate into war.
There's not a time for discussions. It is time for an audit, an independent forensic audit into the register we'll be using for the election and the IT systems of the EC. That's all we are asking for.
The Democratic Republic of Congo has inaugurated its first ever data center. Now, the banks of the servers will store government and commercial data and, importantly, allow the country to regain digital sovereignty. Our correspondent sent us this report.
This brand new building in Kinshasa's Industrial Limité district doesn't go unnoticed. It houses Kinshasa's first ever data center. Workers are applying the finishing touches. But inside, the center's ready to store the reams of data available from the public sector and private companies.
This is the control center. This is the cockpit of the data center.
This is where the servers and machines are monitored 24 hours a day.
Nous suivrons la température au niveau de la salle serveur
We monitor the temperature in the server room, the battery room, and the power distribution rooms. If the temperature rises above 24 degrees, we get an alert that there is a problem, and we take immediate action.
Running a data center is a steep challenge in a poor tropical country where power cuts are a regular occurrence. Extra safeguards had to be found to ensure the center can operate continuously.
We started with dedicated lines, clean lines, medium voltage lines, double lines, which come from two distinct production sources. The Inga Dam, which serves the first line, and the Zongo Dam, which serves the second line, which is here.
For now, there's enough storage space, but this centre alone won't be able to satisfy future demand in DR Congo, which currently stores much of its data abroad. The Congolese administration, which still often works with paper, wants to turn digital. It's going to need ample space to store citizens' data.
The very essence of a state is to ensure that Congolese data is managed in Congo by Congolese people using infrastructure that's in the country and under Congolese jurisdiction.
One of the benefits to data sovereignty would be data protection, but also improving the quality of internet connection. Congolese people could also see a reduction in the cost of their mobile subscriptions.
And in a bid to spotlight the beauty and value of traditional and diverse African aesthetics, the Decolonizing Beauty campaign has been launched by the Pan-African company Zikora Productions. Throughout the year, projects are launched across several channels centering African hair, African art, African culture. I'm joined now by its founder, Chika Oduah, to ask about what they are hoping to achieve with this push. Now, Chika, thanks very much for making the time to speak to me. Now, first of all, one of the things that you're really focusing on as well is our traditional African hairstyles and also, African aesthetics in comparison to the Western aesthetic. Pretty is nice, but why is it so important to you to go to such lengths to unpick where and what and who we find appealing?
Thank you so much for that question. This campaign, Decolonizing Beauty, it's more than just a buzzword. We've been hearing this word, decolonizing beauty, for some time now. But what we're really trying to do is to deepen the conversation. Who we find to be beautiful, it says a lot about who we are as a people. And as Africans, we do have this shared history of colonization. And the legacy of colonization, it doesn't just impact us today, but we have to also remember that even after the colonization, after we received independence, there were still so many messages of what we should look like as Africans, what we should aspire to be like as Africans. So this movement really is an attempt to decolonize our minds, decolonize our concepts of what we want to aspire to be, because our aspirations speak deeply to who we are as a people.
So part of this is about the way that people look, about, what they find beautiful and how they present themselves. But your push also involves culture, it involves poetry, it involves filmmaking. How does all of this tie together when it comes to the idea of decolonizing contemporary African cultural perspectives and spaces?
Exactly right. This campaign is multifaceted. It is multidimensional. It involves multi-platform. So as you mentioned, rightfully so, there is the poetry aspect, there's photography, there is film, video. So what we're asking for African creatives to do is to capture what it means to decolonize beauty. So we are encouraging African poets, African filmmakers, African dancers and performers to tell us, what does this mean to you? How do you interpret this? So that's what we're doing with this campaign. And of course, it's rolling out throughout the entire year. And it's an invitation for us to sit down as Africans and to reinterpret things. And how do you convey the reinterpretation? By writing a poem, by writing a song, by sending in photography, and tell us what you think decolonizing beauty actually means. So we're asking for Africans themselves to do the interpretations and capture those interpretations into works of art.
So in a way, you're asking your own audience to create the meaning of the campaign itself. But
exactly.
Is it just for Africans? I mean, who is this specifically for? I mean, the issues of the fallout of colonization, it's a global one. It's not just specifically for, indigenous Africans.
That's correct. We are targeting the campaign in terms of producing the art to African creatives, for sure. But the campaign itself, we take the art and we share it with the entire world because it is very much a universal topic, who you find beautiful. So we're speaking to Africans and we're speaking to those who do not identify as Africans because both audiences need to hear this message. You might be surprised to even wonder why Africans need to hear this message, because many Africans have internalized ideas of westernization, Western forms of beauty. This has been internalized in African schools. You hear messages of what is beautiful. Beautiful looks like a European woman. Beautiful looks like an American woman. Beautiful does not look like an African male or female. So this is why Africans themselves need this campaign. And obviously, for those who do not identify as Africans, they need to know how deep this damage is and how it can be reversed. And it needs to be reversed by simply boosting conversations like this one.
Thank you so much, Chika, for getting the conversation started and joining us here at Eye on Africa with the decolonizing, the thinking behind the Decolonizing Beauty campaign. Well, finally, despite recent floods in Zinda in Niger, the faithful from around the country headed to the city this week for the Muslim celebration of Eid Milad. And the local sultan has been central to festivities that seem to have already kicked off to a successful start. Our team was there for a look.
Every year we celebrate the Moulid in grand style, a custom passed down by our ancestors. Therefore, we continue to uphold it today. We grew up watching our grandparents celebrate this event. And we wish a warm welcome to the participants that come from far. And we are happy that everything went peacefully and calmly during the city tour. May God allow us to live such a celebration again next year.
We lowered our expectations for this edition because of the floods and the losses it caused recently. And we want everyone to have a better year until the next prophet's birthday. We wish everyone lots of luck this year.
That looks like so much fun. That, though, is all the time we have for Eye on Africa. Thanks very much for joining us, though. Do so again. Take care.